There's a special kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just sits in your chest like a heavy weight, not sharp, not loud, just permanent. That's exactly what I felt the night she looked me in the eyes and said, "I don't want to be touched by you anymore. Not because we fought, not because of anything I did, just because." No build-up, no emotion. Just those cold, dry, final words. It didn't sound like she was starting a conversation. It sounded like a sentence, like, in her mind, I was already gone, and this was just a formality to get me to stop trying. That evening started like any other, quiet, routine, mechanical. We barely spoke during dinner. She picked at her food while I tried to keep things light. I mentioned a movie I wanted to watch, a restaurant we hadn't been to in a while. She gave me one-word answers, then none. After the plates were cleared and the kitchen lights dimmed, I reached out to touch her, not in a desperate way, just a simple gesture. I gently rested my hand on her lower back as she passed by. She stepped away like I had burned her. Without looking at me, she mumbled, "Stop. I don't want intimacy with you anymore." For a moment, I just stood there, like the world had paused and someone had turned off the sound. I asked her what she meant, hoping I had misunderstood. Hoping it was stress, hormones, anything but what it sounded like. But she repeated herself, clearer this time, slower. "I'm not interested in that part of our relationship anymore. At least not with you. Not right now. Not until things improve. Just not with me." That sentence didn't just hurt, it completely changed my understanding of who we were. I wasn't perfect. I never claimed to be. But I was loyal. I was present. I was supportive. I paid the bills. I carried her through school. I handled the finances, the emergencies, the hard conversations. I gave her space when she needed it. I respected her body, her time, her emotions. And this is how it ends, not with a fight, not with a breakdown, but with her deciding I was no longer someone she desired. I tried to ask why. Not because I was desperate, but because I deserved an explanation. Had I done something wrong? She shrugged and said, "I don't feel anything anymore. And I don't want to pretend. No apology. No regret. No remorse." She said it the way you cancel a subscription. "It's just not for me anymore." I didn't yell. I didn't slam the table. I didn't beg her to change her mind. Because when a woman tells you she doesn't want to be touched by you, not because she's hurt or healing, but simply because she's not interested in you, there's no coming back. There's no rebuilding from that kind of dismissal. Because that's not rejection of a moment, it's rejection of who you are. So I said something I had never said in our entire marriage. "If that's how you feel, then I'm leaving." She blinked, surprised, like she didn't expect me to say it. Like I was supposed to sit there and accept the new terms of our relationship, to play husband on paper, but live like a stranger in my own home. But I kept going. "And when I leave, you'll feel it. Not just the silence in the bedroom or the empty side of the bed. You'll feel the loss in every part of your life. Because I wasn't just a body, I was the one who held this house together." She laughed. Soft. Bitter. "You're being dramatic," she said. That laugh told me everything I needed to know. She didn't believe me I had the strength to walk away. She thought my loyalty was weakness. She mistook my patience for passivity. In that moment, I realized something. She was no longer afraid of losing me, because she had already decided I wasn't worth keeping. That night, I didn't sleep beside her. I grabbed a pillow, went to the couch, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. Not in sadness. Not in rage. In clarity. I saw our entire relationship for what it truly was. I saw the slow withdrawal, the manipulation disguised as space, the coldness that crept in the second I stopped bending over backward to prove I was enough. And now, I was done proving. Because the only thing worse than being rejected is staying where you are no longer respected. The next morning, I didn't ask her how she slept. I didn't make breakfast. I didn't kiss her forehead. I left early, worked in silence, and ate lunch alone. I started making lists in my head, what I'd take, what I'd leave behind, what I'd say when the time came, and what I wouldn't. Because when a man makes peace with walking away, he no longer needs closure from the person who broke him. He becomes his own closure. Later that week, she started noticing. She noticed that I wasn't checking in during the day. That I wasn't asking what time she'd be home. That I had stopped initiating everything: conversation, connection, effort. She thought I was sulking. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't withdrawing. I was preparing to disappear. You want a man to stay loyal? Be real with him. You want a man to stay close? Cherish him while he's near. Because the moment he sees he's just a placeholder in his own home, he's already gone, even if his shoes are still by the door. She believed my silence meant surrender. What she didn't know was that I was preparing for a life that didn't include her. After she told me she no longer wanted intimacy, after she looked me in the face and dismissed me like I was something she had outgrown, I went quiet. Not because I was hurt, but because I was thinking. Calculating. There's something dangerous about a man who stops explaining himself. That moment when he shifts from trying to fix things to letting go completely. I had reached that moment. At first, she thought I was sulking. Licking my wounds. Giving her the silent treatment, hoping she'd crawl back with some half-hearted apology. She expected that because that's the kind of man I used to be. The one who always chased. Always tried to understand. Always took the blame, even when it didn't belong to me. But this time, there was nothing left to chase. No illusions left to hold on to. Something inside me had cracked, but not in a way that made me fall apart. This time, the crack let the real me out. I started small. I changed my routine. I stopped asking what she wanted for dinner. I stopped waiting for her to sit next to me on the couch. I stopped trying to guess which version of her I was going to get each day, warm or distant, sweet or ice-cold. I began living like she wasn't there. And at first, she loved it. She had all the space she wanted, no affection to dodge, no conversations to fake, no expectations to meet. But that kind of silence doesn't stay convenient for long. Because once the drama is gone, once the emotional tug-of-war ends, the truth comes out. And the truth was, she didn't want space. She wanted control. She wanted to watch me suffer. To see how far she could stretch the leash before I snapped back, tail tucked between my legs. Only this time, there was no leash. No barking. No chasing. Just silence. And silence, when it's intentional, is louder than any argument. I joined a gym the following week. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I hoped she'd notice. But because I needed to reclaim the man I had buried trying to keep a broken marriage alive. Every morning, I woke up earlier. Trained harder. Ate better. Spoke less. Thought more. I upgraded my wardrobe. Took pride in my posture again. Stopped slouching through life.
Even my coworkers noticed. Man, you've changed. New energy about you. You seem lighter. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying dead weight. She noticed too, and that's when her behavior shifted. Suddenly, she started asking where I was going. You've been leaving early. What are you doing at the gym so long? I just smiled and shrugged, taking care of myself. No attitude, no bite, just truth delivered with peace. And that peace unsettled her, because people who rely on your chaos can't handle your calm. 2 weeks later, she started showing up in ways she hadn't in months. Wearing makeup to sit on the couch. Laughing at jokes she used to ignore. Suddenly, my presence mattered again. One morning, she made my coffee the way I liked it and said, I was thinking maybe we could go out this weekend. I looked at her, not cold, not smug, just steady. You said you didn't want that part of us anymore. Why the change? She froze. Because I wasn't playing anymore. I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine, just because she felt me slipping away. The thing is, she didn't miss me. She missed a man who worshipped her. She missed the convenience of a husband who worked hard, stayed loyal, and never made her question her own reflection. But that man was long gone, and the one standing in front of her now didn't need her validation. I started spending more time outside the house. Grabbed drinks with friends I hadn't seen in months. Took long drives with the windows down and no destination. Started saying no without guilt. She noticed the cologne, the trim beard, the tone in my voice that no longer asked for permission to exist. And then she panicked. One night, she walked into the living room wearing a dress I hadn't seen in over a year. One of those dresses she used to wear when she still loved me, or at least pretended to. She sat next to me, close, too close for someone who had claimed to have no desire left. "Do you still think about us?" she asked softly. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted her to feel that pause, to feel the distance, to feel the loss. Then I said, "I think about who we used to be, and I wonder how long I was the only one holding on." She looked away because she knew. From that day on, she started trying, but not with sincerity, with fear. She'd make breakfast, suggest movie nights, try to hug me in passing. But it all felt hollow, like someone clapping after the show was already over. You don't get to reject someone for months, then act surprised when your absence becomes permanent. You don't get to turn intimacy into a punishment, then expect devotion when you finally change your mind. She used to own every room we walked into. Now, she walked into mine like a stranger. And I wasn't rude. I wasn't angry. I didn't retaliate. I just lived like she didn't matter anymore. And that was worse than yelling, because once a man's soul detaches, his body is just a guest. She thought I was bluffing when I said I'd leave, but I had already left, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. My body was just the last part catching up. You know what real closure sounds like? It's not yelling. It's not slamming doors. It's hearing her say, "Please just come back to bed." And realizing her voice doesn't move you anymore. That's when I knew I had crossed the threshold. I didn't need a hater. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need anything. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, is louder than indifference. It was a Friday night, late. The house was quiet, but tense. The kind of quiet where every room holds a memory you've already detached from. She came into the kitchen while I was rinsing a plate. Not because she wanted to help. She hadn't done that in months. She came in wearing something she hadn't worn for me in almost a year. A black silk slip, thin straps barely reaching her thighs. I looked up, not with desire, not even with confusion, just silence. She walked toward me slowly, like someone creeping back into a space they used to own. "I miss the way you used to look at me," she said, her voice soft, calculated. I didn't answer. She reached for my arm. I didn't flinch, but I didn't lean in either. "I know I've been distant," she continued. "I pushed you away, but I want to fix this. Now." She wanted to fix it now, after months of telling me I wasn't wanted, after months of turning her back, while I stood right in front of her, trying to make us work. Now, when I had finally let her go in my heart, she wanted to rewind. I gave her nothing, because by then, I understood something most men learn too late. Some people don't love you. They just hate losing you. She stepped closer, placed her hand on my chest, like, she used to say, "Can we just start again?" That's when I finally spoke, calmly, firmly. "Start what exactly?" She blinked, confused. "Us," she said. "I want to be with you again." I looked at her, not the way a lover looks at someone, but the way a man looks at an echo of something that used to be whole. You wanted space, you got it. You wanted distance, you built it. And now, suddenly you want connection, just because the silence you asked for has finally become real. She stood frozen, her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out, because deep down, she knew she killed the very thing she was now begging to bring back to life. There was a time, not long ago, when I would have melted in that moment, when a touch, a tear, a single "I'm sorry" would have been enough. But I wasn't that man anymore. She didn't just deny me physically. She withheld love like a weapon. She made me question my worth, humiliated me without raising her voice. And now she wanted redemption, not out of love, but out of guilt. She followed me into the bedroom that night, sitting on the edge of the bed while I packed a small bag. "Where you going?" she asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't give a long speech. I just zipped the bag and said, "I'm going somewhere I'm respected." She stood up quickly, tears brimming. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. I turned and faced her eye to eye. You didn't have to scream. You didn't have to cheat. You didn't have to hit me. All you had to do was starve me slowly and pretend it was my fault. And that's exactly what she did. Death by emotional neglect. She tried to block the door, whispering, voice cracking, "Please, don't leave like this." But this time I didn't pause. I walked right past her, because she had left me long before I ever picked up that bag. She just never thought I'd find the strength to notice. I spent the night at my brother's place. Slept better than I had in weeks. No cold shoulder in bed. No passive aggression over breakfast. No quiet manipulation disguised as honesty. Just peace. Heavy-earned, grown man peace. The next morning, she texted, "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. She called that evening. I let it ring. 2 days later, she left a voicemail, crying, "I can't eat. I can't sleep. Please, let's just talk." And still, I gave her nothing, because the man she wanted back no longer existed. A week later, I filed for divorce. She tried to delay it, said we should try therapy, said we could rebuild. But there are some things you don't come back from, not because of pride, not because of spite, but because once you see the truth, once someone shows you how little they value you, you can't unsee it.
People think betrayal only happens when someone cheats. But there's another kind. The kind where they slowly convince you you're not worthy of love, and still expect you to keep giving it anyway. She didn't sleep with another man, but she made me feel unwanted, undesirable, and invisible. In my own home. All while smiling in public, and telling her friends we were just in a rough patch. No. We weren't in a rough patch. We were in her comfort zone, where she could withhold, manipulate, and control without ever being questioned. Until I walked out, and took my soul with me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. But I am better, because I learned the hard way. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. No shouting, no revenge, no cruel words. Just a suitcase, a steady hand, and the quiet confidence of a man who finally chose himself. She wanted control. I gave her space. She wanted silence. I gave her absence. And when she begged for what she threw away, I gave her. You stopped mid-sentence at the end. I gave her. Do you want me to help you complete that last line? It feels like a perfect place to land something powerful. Would you like me to suggest a few endings depending on the tone you want? Sad, strong, peaceful?